YouTube, Mark Wogman, Mushroom Rangers here. Today, I'm going to be cloning 2 mushrooms. First mushroom is a chestnut mushroom. As you saw in my previous video, that was the one I spore printed. And then one of the blue oysters. So I've gotten everything wiped down, everything pulled out of the pressure cooker since I made all my Petries on a dime yesterday. So it's just simple. Clean, sterilize your scalpel. Cool it. Now you don't want to cut these mushrooms. You want to rip the mushroom in half. To expose the meaty flesh. And then you're going to get a small tissue sample. Or big, it don't matter. And then repeat. You can do this with pretty much any mushroom. Some of them are going to be harder than others. Some of them are going to be easier than others. Yep, see, that's big enough. Now what happens is, once you clone this, you're copying the genetics. So, as you keep transferring down further and further down the line, say you transfer this 15 times. At that 15th time, somewhere along the way, the genetics won't be the same as it was in the parent mushroom. So the whole reason that you're cloning mushrooms is, say you found a mushroom that has a very distinct characteristic, like it has big flushes, or it has a nice big cap, and you want to continue that lineage. You want to grow mushrooms that have big caps, or whatever the distinct characteristic of that mushroom. That's what you want to pull forth, or that's what you want to propagate. Now, and keep in mind though, just because you took a clone or took a tissue sample of that mushroom to get that desired characteristic, that doesn't necessarily mean that every fruiting block that you inoculate is going to hold those characteristics. It just doesn't work that way. It's not a monoculture. I mean, honestly, that's what you're trying to get, is a monoculture. That's just the way genetics works, from my minuscule understanding, is that you're not going to get the desired effect 100% of the time. Because the mycelium does its own thing. The no matter what you try to do. So your best hope is just to continue to clone. Again, if you're a newbie and you don't have any mushrooms, just go to the store and buy a mushroom. You can clone from the store and the mushroom, or the mushroom from the store. Just make sure. My advice is I'd go to the produce manager and ask him what days do they normally get their fresh mushrooms in. That way you can go there on that day and be sure that you got, you know, the freshest mushrooms. Just because, like all grocery stores, they're gonna rotate their stock. So if you find out when they get in their fresh mushrooms, you go in on that day, and then you just pick from the back, not the front, because obviously they're going to rotate the fresh ones to the back and the not so fresh ones to the front. So you just label it like you do everything else. Sorry, the screen door was blowing around. I thought somebody was coming in. But anyways, that's pretty much how you're gonna start if you're a newbie. If you're going to get to this level with your petri dishes and the flow hood and stuff like that. Otherwise, for a newbie, you just buy a kit first, and then you can grow the mushrooms from the kit, and then clone them from there, or collect the spores. Make spore syringe. The only problem with the spore syringe is each individual spore will have its own genetic makeup, so you'll never know what you're going to get. That's why you isolate, you know, do all that good stuff. So as far as spore printing, you saw me, I had the chestnuts under the glass jar. That's what it looks like, deep dark brown. The reason why you want to spore print is two reasons. If you ever lose any of your cultures, say something happens, who knows? I mean, it dies or natural disaster, who knows? You lose your culture. And your cultures are they only have a limited amount of time as far as viability, unless you know, go and cryogenically freeze them in nitrogen, and who has the money for that? So this is another way to preserve the strain, not your genetics, just the strain. That way, if you lose any of your petri dishes or your master culture slants, you still have the spores, and you can restart from the beginning with your spore syringe. And also, say you wanted to, what do they call it? Create a new species, like a hybridized one, like hybridize the black king with the blue oyster. That's what you want to. That's another reason why you keep your spores, because that's how you do it. You take the spores and you put the spores of the black king and the blue oyster on the same petri dish, and when they grow out, they'll grow together. And then that's where you want to take that sample from, because they're in the same family. It's the same thing as grafting trees. You can't, as long as they're in the same family, you can graft them. Like, you can't graft a tomato plant onto an apple tree, but you can graft an apple tree onto a pear tree. So that's just another reason why you want to take spore prints. And they're fun to look at. So, and they make good wall art if you do it correctly. So I hope you liked this video. Like, subscribe, tell yourself, tell your friends. Blessed be, and keep it fungi.